Have you ever wondered what games you should keep or you should lose? Find out here at Purge Reviews.
Here is the expansion for GROWL Madness and Plagues. It comes in a box like this, just like the original, and when you pop it out, you're going to have this in. Now, I popped out the chits, and I put them in my own baggie. You can see the rule book fits in here, and I have all of the cards set in here. Now, if you want to, you could definitely separate them inside by Plagues and Madness, and you have a 2-slot in there. And this just sit right beside the original box. It's kind of the same kind of shape with this cover going over it, same thing. Now, as for these chits, they're fairly nice. I mean, they're just generic or whatever, but they're thick, they're nice. They have the iconography on them that you need. As for the cards, they fit pretty well in with the original. They feel good. I don't see any major differences, really. And you can see the artwork is all for fun. And it's not too scary, although there may be some parodies in here that you may enjoy quite a bit. So happy with the components. Happy what was delivered to us. The backs look great and spooky. And you'll be up and ready to play in no time. First of all, you get this little card here about the translations and the Curses expansion. Then you're going to have the rule book that is very, very small. It has madness about a certain way through. I feel like this is way too small for what I need. The font on it was small, and it feels like they crammed a lot of information in a short package, which made it more difficult to kind of learn the game. The weakest part of the GROWL series so far has been the rule book. I always got to read it 3 or 4 times, put the pieces down, move them around, and hope I'm doing the best I can. So this right here could have been better, but don't let that scare you away from the game. So what you have here is the 30 plague tokens. You're going to shuffle them up, and each player is going to get 3 of them. They're allowed to look at them. You can see there's different things on the other side. These will all have different little things. Reveal 3 cards, ignore spells, or just minus numbers that you'll have here. You're allowed to peek at those, but make sure you keep it separate from everybody else. You're going to get some new spell cards in this one. You can always see that they have the plague symbol at the bottom. You're going to shuffle these up and take 5 to 7 and put these in the spell deck that you'll be able to utilize with the new game. Let me show you a couple of these. Resurrection, Wicked Sub, which gets 2 of these. Wicked Charm would be 3, etc. They'll fight off the plague as you go through. These are the heresy, what they're going to call heresy icons. You're going to be counting up later in the game, but know that these will be in it. You're going to have some plague cards and a final plague. You're going to take 2 of these cards and 1 of these final plague cards, and they'll be shuffled into the deck. So you won't see everything each time you play. So, when you give out a card, just like a normal game, you can also take 1 of these face-down plague tokens and give it to a person, keeping them separated from the 3 they initially started out with, and they would have an additional row here. So on your turn, you pick up 1 of these face-down ones, and you may give it to somebody at the table, just keeping it separate from their starter ones. When a plague is drawn from the deck, the plague face will start. You will flip over the tokens you were given, which will add or subtract your heresy icons that you have. Whoever has the most heresy icons will then become the heretic. So let's say this person has 5, he will become the heretic for the round. Then everybody will get a new plague token. They'll take 1 from the supply. They'll resolve any plagues. So let's take a look at this one. It says, Plague of Beasts. Clear the plague tokens and night falls. Each heretic from this round can't win the game unless they fulfill their final win condition. And at least 1 Wolf 0 is dead, even if the heretic is Wolf 0. So this person will become the heretic because they have the most heresy icons. Then you would do a normal night phase and check for any dead players. And you're going to do this 3 times throughout the game. You have 2 of these plague cards, and then you'll have a final plague that you will also go through and do the same thing with. So let me give you an example of that. The final plague, Plague of the Righteous. 1 at a time, clockwise, each heretic elects an additional heretic. The total number of heretics between 1 and 3, and 1 and 2, the total number of living players. On the count of 3, all living players vote simultaneously, thumbs up to kill all the heretics, or thumbs down to instead kill all non-heretics. The actor's player vote breaks ties. So there'll just be something that you will do for these plague sections. This is a good time to point out that there's 3 additional undead cards, the Mimic, the Dreamwalk, and the Shame, that you can add into the game as you're utilizing these expansions. For the Madness side of things, you're going to eliminate all the original bites from the game, and you're going to add in a number of these Madness bites to the game based on the number of players. This system of bites will do things a little differently. You're going to have a number of Wolf Zeros that are going to start in the game. It'll be how many of these bites that you're going to hand out. In the original draw, if your hand starts with a bite, then you will be considered a Wolf 0. Each player is going to draw one of these random madness triggers when 3 or more players are speaking at the same time, when there's a lull for more than 3 seconds, when the second living player to your left says something that you think is caused by madness, when other players address directly by name, etc., etc. These will trigger madness in you. Each player is going to start out with one of these randomly. Now, your madness is going to be triggered when whatever's on your card happens to occur. When night falls, you can then pass the bites on, but only werewolves can pass the bites to somebody else, just like the base game. So when your madness triggers, you can look here on your bite card, and it might tell you that something is going to happen. Sit up tall, then slump again. Sit up tall and slump down again. Alternately raise and lower a hand. Here's a bite. Make a quiet animal noise. Each time this triggers, the sound gets louder. You could straighten, organize card and objects. This one says, put the fire on your clothes. So just different things that will occur when the madness happens. And that should give you a quick overview of how the madness and plagues interact with your GROWL system. Do I think these are necessary? I find the plagues to be the better of the two, although my kids really like the madness side of it. It does complicate things a little bit. It makes the game a little bit more complicated, which the game may or may not need. I would not add these in originally. What I would do is I'd play through the base game, kind of have your laughs and understand all those, adding one in, and then go to these, especially the plagues, makes things a little bit more complicated, because now you have not only cards to worry about, you have that heresy moment and the plagues that are going to come in. They're really fun. Everybody's had a great time with the plagues and the madness combined. The only expansion I found to be 100% necessary was the undead expansion. That's one I would get in as quickly as possible, because it prevents the player elimination, but the remainder of these I would add in as you're wanting that complexity. So for me, I'm glad to have more GROWL stuff. We've had a really good time with this system. The kids like it. We play with parents and kids at the same time, and it's been a blast. So this one's been a winner for us.